right, we're going to call this meeting to order. We're going to have, do we have an invocation? No, I guess not. We're going to have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would, stand with me. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey.
Good evening and welcome to the July 19, 2016. This is a public hearing on the millage rate. Did first want to announce on behalf of Vice Chairman Sona Gregory that she provided me with advance notice that she would not be present at this evening's meeting. The purpose of the meeting, the Board of Commissioners is conducting this public hearing to provide citizen input pertaining to the county's proposed fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017 millage rate increase. If there is nothing further, we will call on Ramona Bivens, Chief Financial Officer.
Ms. Bivens?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and citizens. Today, we'll be having the first of 3 public hearings on the proposed millage rate for FY 2017. State statute requires that boards of commissioners set a millage rate at a level to support the maintenance and operations of the county. We're required to advertise the current year digest and the 5-year history of the tax levy, which was done in the July 9th paper of the local paper. We're also required to hold 3 public hearings if the proposed millage rate is greater than the rollback rate, which is considered an increase in taxes. This year, the calculated rollback rate that's considered revenue neutral is 15.611. If you recall, the board approved a budget which was supported by 1.147 increase in the gross millage rate from 20.953 to 22.1 mills. This will be the first increase since 2011, when it was increased by 4.5 mills from 16.453 to the current 20.953. After applying the loss credit, we're proposing a net millage rate for 2016, which supports the FY17 budget of 16.596 mills, which is an increase of 7.53 from last year's net millage. In April, the tax assessor's office mailed out assessment notices to all of the homeowners or property owners, rather, in the county. They had an opportunity to appeal those values, and that deadline was June 13th. After that time, all the appeals were done. The tax assessor gave us what is considered the lockdown digest after all of the appeals have been considered, and that was done on June 18th, and we received that in our office shortly thereafter. If there's an increase in the digest, that has a positive effect, which generates more revenue. If you have a digest decrease, it's a negative effect on the revenue. Our initial tax revenue estimate was based on a preliminary digest that we had received as of March. I believe that's the one we used. And although the final digest shows a slight increase from the March preliminary digest, the net values are down by 2.2% or $137.6 million from last year's net property values. 2016 tax revenue for the FY17 budget is shown on this slide. As I stated earlier, the net assessed value for this year is down to $6,029,868,000 from $6.2 billion last year. And this slide also reflects the proposed millage rate increase to the base millage rate, shows the sales tax credit of 5.504, which is higher than last year's sales tax credit due to increased sales tax collections this year. And this shows the gross property tax that would be levied. These are the bills that would go out in the amount of $100 million. But the net tax collected, we're projecting a 95% collection rate would be a little over $95 million. So with the proposed millage rate, the incorporated residents and incorporated Clayton County, the proposed millage rate would be 16.862. Unincorporated Clayton County would be 21.862. It includes the fire district fund millage of 5 mills. And then the school district has proposed a 19.804 millage rate. They have not adopted yet. They've had their first hearing and will have their last 2 hearings next week before they do their final adoption. This is the current year digest and 5-year history that was advertised in the paper. Although we did experience increases in real and personal property of a little over $8 million, almost $9 million actually, the overall digest is down by $137.6 million, and that's mainly due to a $71.3 million decrease in the motor vehicles, which is due to the laws that changed, where now we're not assessing the ad valorem tax on motor vehicles. As people buy new vehicles, those old vehicles fall off, so that revenue has gone down significantly, which is something that we had anticipated. Mobile homes have decreased by $500,000. Also, heavy-duty equipment decreased by the same amount. In addition to these decreases, the net digest was further decreased by an increase in the exemptions, which are $78 million higher than last year's exemptions. This shows the fire values for the fire district. And the fire district digest also experienced decreases in the same areas as the general fund. However, they were offset by the addition of another city to the digest that we will be providing fire service for this year and be assessing the 5 mills as well. Real and personal property increased by $353.8 million on the fire digest. Motor vehicles were down $54.8 million, similar to what we experienced in the M&O on the general fund side. Mobile homes were down $0.4 million, and heavy-duty equipment was down $500,000 as well. There was also an increase in exemptions by $57 million, but they still had a net increase in growth to $241.1 million for the fire district. So for the total, this slide shows the total for fire and the M&O combined. So the total county values shows a decrease, but shows an increase, but that's due again to the increase on the fire side. And it shows a net tax increase of 2.94%. How does this affect a homeowner with the fair market value of $150,000? This is the value that we have used in the past few years. And this tax increase would cause a person that lives in incorporated Clayton County, they would incur an additional $36.70. This would be due to the increase in the gross millage rate as well as the net millage rate after we apply the loss credit. For a person living in unincorporated, the only change they would see, again, would be the $36.70 as well, because the fire millage rate did not change, remain the same. So they would only experience the increase due to the increase in the gross millage rate on the general operating fund. As I stated at the beginning, we have 3 public hearings. This is the first of 3. The 2 remaining public hearings right now are scheduled for August 2nd at 11 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. with adoption of the millage rate as part of the regular business meeting agenda later at 7 o'clock that night. And that's all I have, and I yield the floor back to you, Mr. Chairman, for any comments or questions from the board, and then to allow the public to make any comments if anyone signed up.
All right, thank you for your presentation. Is there any of the board members who'd like to ask any questions of Ms. Evans? All right, with that in mind, we do have 2 people signed up to speak on this specific matter, and I wish I could see the first name.
Rafi?
Linda Granger.
Good evening, Chair and Commission. I come tonight also to speak on the millage rate. This is a new election, 2016. We came out in normal. We vote. which I have question of the election because you all allowed my son vote because the illegal were done with disability. So the middle rate, and I'm asking you all to look at this and look at your budget because you all tax it of the deaths to death. And you got to say, you for the people, you look out for our well-being, keep doing the increase. It can't be. It can't be. Especially when you got a school system total with Title I, and then you continue to do increase, and you got people come in to do business, and you got to see this money going within the county. And so if everybody playing their fair part into this, I don't see why we got to do an increase. So the election not over with. So Turner, we looking for you to do what you said you gonna do. So you got in, so still looking for you to do what you had to do, accountability, open government and transparent. Like you said, I call and give you all hell, but I giving you hell and you're doing the thing, it ain't doing no good. And yes, all black, our lives matter. Let's do the right thing so we won't have to keep coming to this. Go from the top to the bottom. And you did time in the military, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So don't wait till the camera get in your face and say we lack and you to serve and you mistreat her on the other end. So look at this before you make a decision. And I will be watching, I will be coming here so I can be on the TV, let you know, and I'm going to pump finger at each one of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Catherine, looks like maybe Monroe.
Pleasant good evening to everyone. My name is Catherine Monroe, and I'm seeing a problem with budgeting. If we have to be taxed a percentage, 4% this year, 2-3 years, another 6%. If we keep coming up with taxes to increase in taxes, that means there's something wrong with the budget. Somebody's not balancing the budget properly so that we can just get one taxation increase and be finished away with it, as opposed to every other year or so we come back again coming up with new taxes. We need to stop, we need to reconsider what we're doing, because of course nobody wants to increase in taxes. And what is the purpose of this millage increase? What is the benefit for the citizens? If someone can just explain why are we being taxed without knowing exactly where the benefits are going to go, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, and if you'd like to get with either myself or the CFO, we can have that conversation. Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
I didn't realize there was a list for this portion.
That's all right. I'll entertain it.
I would just like to echo a couple of the comments that were said, because my neighborhood was not consulted at all.
I'm sorry, could you
about,
please state your
I'm sorry,
name
Sophia,
and county of residency?
Sophia Haynes. I'm in Panhandle Valley Estates subdivision. And I'm over our neighborhood watch, and we weren't consulted at all in this particular thing, but I agree with the other people that you can't tax us to death. It was a tax for the SPLOS, a tax a few years back, and now we're talking about a tax again. And I guess what me and my neighbors are wondering is what other avenues were explored before you decided to do a tax? Were there any consultations with other surrounding jurisdictions as to what they would do to solve whatever problem we were trying to solve with this tax? I had heard somewhere that maybe it was to give the employees a raise and maybe some police officers or something along those lines. I don't know if it's true. I'm just telling you that's what I heard that was the proposed rate was for. But it seems that the fallback is always a tax. And my neighbors, we're all wondering what other avenues did we consult before we decided just to raise the taxes? Because everybody kind of ran on this agenda of, balancing budgets. I ran businesses and all that kind of stuff. And businesses come into these type of issues all the time. And there are some things that we do evaluate what we need to do before we just say tax the people again. So we'd ask that you would consider and actually let us know what all you considered before you decided just to raise the taxes again. Because in the last 3 years or so, we've been hearing about tax for water, tax for the hospital, tax on property taxes, now another property tax. So to say we're concerned is a very sincere understatement. And as our elected leaders, we would like to know, what else did you all consider? And did you consider anything else besides just raising our taxes? Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else like to come forward? Ms. Bivens, and I know we did this when we did the budget presentation, but could you insert a slide for next budget meeting, or is it something that we can't have added since we already did this one? Yeah, so in terms of breaking down what the increase
Okay.
or the millage increase
Yes,
was
sir,
going
we
towards.
can do that. This microphone's not working. Yes, sir, we can do that. If you recall, the increase was mainly due to the 2.5% increase for the public safety officials in the county that were eligible for that, as well as a 3% COLA for all employees. We increased the budget about $1.5 million for fleet for public safety, and then for just general vehicles for the county, as well as another $500,000 for building and maintenance. We increased that budget to address some of the issues that we have with our buildings, deteriorating buildings.
In reference to employees, we were losing a lot of employees, mainly in the public safety arena, and we had to come up with something. And we did check around to other jurisdictions, and they are doing the exact same thing.
That is correct. We checked with, I believe Henry County has done the same thing, and as so has the city of Riverdale. Further up in North Georgia, north of Atlanta, some of the newer cities, when they became officially were cities, they increased they had salaries that were competitive, paid more than what we did. We lost a lot of officers to them. So this is one of the things that we all discussed to address, to stop the bleeding.
If you could just insert that slide.
Sure, not a problem.
I'd
Okay,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Is there any other questions from any of the citizens? Okay, well, hearing none, I appreciate everybody being here for the first hearing. We will have 2 additional hearings as outlined in the presentation. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion. Well, we don't need a motion, do we? To adjourn? No, just a hearing, right? Okay. Y'all have a good, well, don't go anywhere. We have a meeting at 7 o'clock, so we'll welcome you to stay for the 7 o'clock business meeting. Thank you.